Oh, hi everybody, Ezra Levant here. It's May 4th and you're watching Battleground, which is the daily live stream that I do weekdays. I do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And my colleagues Sheila Gunn-Reid and David Menzies do it Tuesdays and Thursdays to give me a break. I'm supposed to be doing other work during those breaks, but I mainly goof around. But I'm grateful to them anyways. And look, people like Sheila and David. It's great TV, and there's a very good banter. I am more of a ranter myself. Let me just explain for those who don't know the super chat, as Dame of the Damsels has just shown with her amazing $20 super chat. Thank you very much. The super part of the super chat means you can make your comments in that little chat box, animated, brightly colored, etc., appended to the top box there, so everyone can see them, and I, out of the corner of my eye, see them, and I read them. Sometimes I let a few minutes go by if I'm mid-rant, but I do try and read out every super chat, and the reason for that is because, first of all, thank you, and second of all, it's an important source of revenue for us. Did you know that YouTube lets us keep 70% of the super chat money? Frankly, I think it should be 85%, but I'm in no position to bargain with Google, one of the largest companies in the world. So, for example, of that $20 super chat, we get 14. And it adds up, and we help pay the bills here because we don't take any money from Justin Trudeau. None would be offered to us, of course, but even if it were, we wouldn't take it. Did you see the tweet from Dr. Tedros of the World Health Organization? I just retweeted it. As you know, Dr. Tedros Adhanom is not a real doctor. He calls himself doctor because he has some academic degree, but he's not a medical doctor. He's the first president of the World Health Organization who's not a doctor. And look at this. This is just an hour or two ago. Thank you, Justin Trudeau, Canadian Prime Minister, for the support of the World Health Organization during the United Against Coronavirus pledging event, and for the contribution of 551 million plus euros. That's what that funny E is to the global COVID-19 response. Together. So Justin Trudeau, and scroll up, because look at these other countries. He's giving shout outs to other countries. So Japan, we're almost as much as Japan, more than Spain, more in Germany. We're giving more than Germany, a country with double our population. We're giving more than France, 510 million euros. So basically, this corrupt Ethiopian politician, who's a puppet of China, more than Norway, gets on the phone and twists Justin Trudeau's arm, and Trudeau says, "Oh, sure, 551 million euros is the equivalent of about 850 million Canadian dollars." So just in a phone call, the United Nations corrupt World Health Organization, dominated by China — why doesn't China fund it? They have all the money — extracts 850 million Canadian dollars from Justin Trudeau. Now, I just tweeted a video from on my Twitter feed. Roberto Wakeroll just put it up there. And here, look at Trudeau. Look at the love. The only two people he ever talks this way to are foreign dictators and parliamentary pages where there's no adults or chaperones around. Take a look at this.
Understanding that a global crisis requires a global response. We know that the safety of our own citizens depends on how we keep people around the world safe. It has always been thus, but it has been more poignant and more noticeable during this global crisis. When a storm comes, people tend to want to hunker down with their friends, with their families, and wait till it blows over. But we cannot isolate ourselves. We cannot hope that everyone else does well while we take care of ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves and take care of the rest of the world as well. Take care of ourselves by taking care of the rest of the world. This is truly a moment for global leadership, and everything that people are doing, coming together to demonstrate that, is essential.
What an idiot. We can't help each other if we hole up in our own house. That's exactly what he's done. He's almost at the 2-month mark where he is self-quarantined, even though he's not sick. No one around him's sick. The rest of the cabinet's working. He's just hanging around in his house all day, He is the laziest leader in the world. No other leader is staying at home, not even Boris Johnson, who was so sick from the virus he had to go to intensive care. This lazy ass is in his house. But my main point for showing you that video, besides the vacuous banalities, was the loving tone. We're all in this together. Have you ever in your life heard Justin Trudeau speak that way about Alberta? Farmers? People working in the oil and gas industry? People laid off in the oil and gas industry? Have you ever heard him talk that way about our soldiers or our veterans? The only place he uses that first date voice, I think you're really wonderful. I'd really like to get to know you. I'm making eye contact with you. You know we're going to end up like this just super gross pickup artist moves, that pickup artist sound. He only talks that way to parliamentary pages and to foreign dictators. When he speaks to anyone from Alberta or Saskatchewan, anyone who's conservative, anyone he disagrees with, he's got rage. He uses his first date sexy voice with young women like Rose Knight, the woman he molested in Creston, BC, or to the UN, who he's groping in return for a seat on the United Nations Security Council. That's obviously what it's for. So gross. Thanks for showing those, Justin. I have a new rule. I'm going to try and get through as many videos as possible instead of just rant. And we're going to end each live stream with a puppy video. We might start it with the puppy videos too. What's your wind chime dog puppy video that you select? Let's take a look. Justin, thank you for selecting that. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't have the patience or self-control to wait till the end of the show. That video has made me 38% happier. That's all it took. Can you select another one for the end of the show? Because I just couldn't. I was so curious. Wind chime dog. There's some wonderful ones there. There's some wonderful trampoline ones. I just gonna let it. You know what? Keep it a surprise, and do not show me until the end of the show, because otherwise I'm going to say, show me more, like that other day when we watched that hydraulic press just squishing things. I found that a little bit stressful, especially when they were going to squish the Furby. I did not want to see that. Okay, back to the news. Hey, I see a headline in the Wall Street Journal. Sorry to make you work for it, Justin. I think I tweeted it this morning, but the Wall Street Journal has found, those face masks, you got your regular mask that anyone can make, homemade, or just, it looks like something your dentist would wear. Sometimes it's blue or pink. It's a very simple mask. It's not like an industrial mask. It's just so you don't, say it, don't spray it kind of thing. It's a mask that most of us would wear on the street if we're going to wear a mask these days. But then there's a fancy mask called an N95. And that's the kind of mask you see, typically, I've only in my life seen people wear them if they're doing something like sandblasting or, something either in construction, usually, and there's like lots of particulate matter in the air, like if they're working with cutting sheetrock or something, any sort of sawing dust. Like you wear them in a sawmill or even in a flour mill or something where there's tons of stuff in the air. So the N95 refers to it filters out 95% of the particulate matter. So N95 is the kind of mask you would wear if you're pretty serious, like let's say you're frontline dealing with the virus. You would wear the N95 mask. It's just N95. Yeah, that's it. So it looks like a mask, but it typically has what's that one there with that little replaceable filter? So they're a little more serious, right? And you can see it says N95 on it. And they're actually, it's actually a piece of engineering. It's not just you. Yeah, like the one right above that also. That's a fairly serious mask. 3M is one of the large makers of that. Can you find the Wall Street Journal story that I tweeted this morning? So China has been sending the world masks. But look at this story in today's Wall Street Journal. Low-quality masks infiltrate U.S. coronavirus supply. Many imported masks fall short of N95 standards, tests show, putting workers on the front lines of battling the virus at risk. Let me read just a little bit. U.S. regulators and state officials are finding a significant number of imported N95-style masks fall short of certification standards. Let me tell you how it ends. They're Chinese. So they're either fakes or counterfeits or just junk. And how would you know? It says N95 on it. Even if it says 3M on it. Well, have you never seen a Chinese knockoff Rolex, a knockoff polo shirt, or some other brand, knockoff Gucci purse or something? China is the world's leading intellectual property thief. When I think I told you the story before, I was in, like, they'll have entire fake Starbuckses. Like a whole restaurant, just complete ripoff. Danone, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering correctly, one of the world's largest dairy companies, or maybe it was Yoplait, maybe Yoplait is owned by Danone, got into a joint venture in China with a Chinese beverage maker called Wahaha. You know, I want to Google that. I don't want to get that wrong. Danone. Yeah, Wahaha. Isn't that funny? That's the name of the company. I remembered that. So, Wahaha. Isn't that a funny name? It's named after the sound a kid laughs. They did a joint deal with Danone that makes I think it's Yoplait yogurt. And so this huge, I think it's a French company, comes to China, does this huge venture with Wahaha. That's a great name for a company. And they find out that Wahaha has set up a bunch of factories that they didn't tell Danone about. So they have their official joint venture factory where they share everything like 50-50 or whatever the deal was. And then Wahaha, they stole the intellectual property, they stole the plans, they stole everything, and they just set up their own factories and didn't tell Danone. So they had a big fancy, and that we're going to have a joint factory, Danone and Wahaha. What a beautiful match made in heaven. So they have a factory over here, and then later on, Danone said, "Well, hang on, what's that factory there, and 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 there, selling our joint venture stuff? Except for you didn't tell us about those, and we're not getting the money for those, and that's stealing our intellectual property, and that's stealing. That's just you just stole everything." Yeah, welcome to China, buddy. So it is the land of intellectual theft. There's no such thing as the sanctity of contract there because they don't have independent courts. You go to the court, the judge literally gets a phone call from the Communist Party telling them how to rule. There's no justice there. Danone got ripped off. If they can rip off Danone, they can rip off you. If they can rip off Danone in the good times, you're darn straight they're going to rip off American hospitals in the bad times. So I show you this about this Wall Street Journal article about N95 masks that don't work are fakes. And then let me show you a clip from Australia. Let me set it up a little bit. So much of the free foreign aid by China to the West is shoddy material. Virus tests that don't work. Oh, just that. Garments that don't work, face masks that don't work. But they get the PR propaganda. Look at this story out of Australia. It is perfect. Take a look.
It was spooked as a mission of mercy as Australian hospitals prepared for the full onslaught of COVID-19. But an investigation by 7news.com.au has revealed a flight from Wuhan to Sydney on April 8 returned to China loaded up with baby formula and some of our finest salmon. When the plane arrived at Sydney Airport, it was carrying 70 tonnes of protective gear for Australian medical workers. Our government didn't ask for the supplies and didn't end up buying them. It's not clear what happened to the cargo, but it's now been revealed that when the plane took off for China the next morning, it was packed full with 11,000 tins of baby formula and 35,000 kilograms of Tasmanian Atlantic salmon.
Isn't that something? My favorite line in that whole report is that the plane from China came to Australia. Hoopla! Hey, we're bringing you protective gear. The government didn't end up buying them. Oh, so it wasn't a gift, it was for sale. Now, why wouldn't the Australian government have bought them? Well, I'm going to go up. I haven't watched the full 7.com.au investigation, but maybe there's a chance that it was like all the other junk that China's shipping the West. It's not working. But they did bring thousands and thousands of pounds of baby formula from Australia back to China. So, you don't want our junky, fake, counterfeit face masks? Okay, well, that's really not why we brought the plane here. We're just going to load up on your baby formula and bring it back to China. I don't think there's a baby formula shortage in Australia, but you know what? If I was Australia, I probably wouldn't want anything that could be even close to be called essential being shipped en masse, en bulk to China, would you? I think that China is a dictatorship. I think they are the new Soviet Union. I think we're in a new Cold War with them. I don't propose a hot war. I don't propose we fight them in the field of battle, just like that would have probably been mutually assured destruction against the Soviet Union. It would certainly be deadly to fight a full-out hot war with China. But let's make no mistake, we are in a Cold War. And the thing about Cold Wars is sometimes you don't realize that the wars are fought asymmetrically. They're not fought with aircraft carriers, although China has a couple of those now. They're fought through espionage, through industrial espionage, military espionage, through corruption, through money, through politics, through lobbying, through letting Huawei build your phone system. So the thing about the Soviet Union is when we fought the Soviet Union, we didn't have masses of Russian communists in the West. There were some Russians in the West, but they were dissidents. They were what was called refuseniks. In fact, there's a brief period of détente under Jimmy Carter where Russia agreed to let out thousands of democracy activist dissidents. Many of them were Jews, actually, who didn't like living under the Soviet Union. They came to the West, but mainly they were anti-communist. In fact, one of them was Sergey Brin, who went on to be a co-founder of Google. So you had these Russians come to the West. Now, Sergey Brin's come full circle. He's become a bit of an authoritarian in his old age. But my point is you didn't have a mass of Soviets in the West loyal to the Soviet Union, and you didn't have total integration of the economies. I mean, there was a proposal to build a big oil pipeline, gas pipeline from Russia to Europe, but it wasn't, like every single thing in your store was made in the Soviet Union, like in Walmart, Toys R Us, Apple Store, whatever. Like, seriously, the things on my desk, I guess these microphones are made in Germany, one of the few things that still are, but my computer and my phone and my watch are all made in China. It wasn't that way in the Cold War with the Soviet Union. So we have to realize where we are. I think that's the great challenge for our era, and Justin Trudeau has failed that challenge so far, is siding with China because Justin Trudeau, he's an alienist. That's the opposite of a nativist. He puts others ahead of his own country, and he loves authoritarianism. He loves Castro. He loves, he went to the Soviet Union when he was a boy with his father, and he loves communist China. There is no dictatorship he doesn't love. He loves Iran. But although China is the true strategic enemy of the West for at least the next generation, the crisis that China has put us all into has opened the door for other petty tyrants, including in our own cities. I'm going to play some vids for you. I got 3 videos in a row. Police arresting a tattoo artist for doing a tattoo. And a couple of videos out of Chicago. But Justin reminds me I should take care of some super chats because I want to read those. So let me just open that up here in my email. He emails me them when I don't catch them in real time. Did you send them over? Okay, here we go. I'm just going to read those. Folks, stay with me. I'm just catching up. Justin emailed them to me. Okay, super chats. Peter Mercer, $7. Great job. Thanks for your honest journalism. Well, thanks, Peter. Appreciate that. Proud Boys Calgary, as always, appreciate the daily support. $2.79. Monday reminder, CCP Delenda Est. CCP stands for Chinese Communist Party. Delenda Est is Latin for must be destroyed. I agree. AA, $5. Ezra, please sue for access to federal media events. We will support you. Are you some sort of mind reader? Are you using your GST to read my thoughts? Spencer Torpy, $2. Thank you very much. Taipei Sam, well, we're fans of Taiwan. 75 NT. I'm guessing that's new Taiwanese dollars or something. I don't remember what the Taiwanese currency is. Do you want to Google that? What's the Taiwanese currency? Derek Sloan has been very interested in the CPC again. Sorry, Maxime, but the PPC is in hibernation mode now. Let's see where he goes with this. Well, you know, I like Maxime Bernier, but you're right, it is sort of hibernation mode. He doesn't have a seat in Parliament. I like the guy, but if he doesn't have a seat there, he's a pundit like me. New Taiwan dollars. Thank you, Justin, for Googling that. Chris Legue, if I'm saying that right, $2. When are we going to wake up and stop this scumbag? Well, you got to narrow it down. I don't know who you're referring to in particular. Hot Soup, $5. Ever wonder what is on all those daily return flights from Canada back to China? That is a great point. That flight to Australia was obviously designed to pick up Australian stuff, not to deliver junk that no one wanted and no one took. Michael Nichols, $2.79. I'd like to send more. Default amount is $2.79. I didn't know the default amount was $2.79. You can adjust it, as you can see. We've had different amounts throughout the day. I can't remember how to do it myself. It's been a while since I did practice once doing it, but others seem to figure it out. Okay, took care of the super chats. It's 12:24. We're doing okay for time. Have you been looking through dog videos for a possible big winner? Okay, don't let me watch them because I want to see them dog videos. We gotta wait till 2:58. Rob Lentowich, $2. Kick China out of the WTO. Problem solved. That's the World Trade Organization. I presume you mean that as opposed to the WHO, World Health Organization. We need to start extricating. You know, I did a tweet over the weekend, if I may. You know what the cost of one of those new Gerald Ford class aircraft carriers? That's the new generation U.S. nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. You know how much one of those costs? $13 billion for one boat. That's just to build it. To operate that thing, the thousands of people on that ship, the fuel, and of course aircraft carriers don't go out by themselves. There's a whole carrier battle group, escorts, fueling ships. And then there's all the aircraft, and $13 billion just to build one boat. And you know how much the F-35 fighter jet program is? That's the new, and I've seen those F-35s in flight. They are amazing. Do we have that Rebel Israel footage of the F-35? I'd love to show people that. Give me a tangent here. You know, we were planning another trip to Israel this summer, but obviously the virus put that off. But last year, I think it was, maybe it was the year before, it was last year, we went to Israel. We took Rebel people along, and we got an incredible and rare invitation to attend the graduation ceremony of the Israel Air Force Academy. Now that's an event that was only for friends and family, and somehow we got tickets. So we were the only people there who weren't related to the pilots. And they had so all the family came. It was such a proud moment. Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, came, spoke, and stayed for the whole thing. If I recall, the Israeli president, which is different, was there, and I think the Israeli defense, like half their cabinet was there, and they stayed for the whole thing. They didn't come give a speech and run. Like, this was such a key moment for them. And they had an air show for just to show off, and it was really cool. And they had, I think it was the F-15 flying. That's an awesome aircraft. The F-15 was flying around, and it was pretty wicked cool. But then the F-35 took to the skies. And after just watching the F-15, you think, well, that's a pretty cool aircraft. Wow. That's like tootling around in a Model T Ford and then seeing a Ferrari. Look at that. So that's our footage. That's the F-35. It was, I mean, I guess we could have pulled off any B-roll at all, but it was pretty cool to see it. How fast, how maneuverable. The total cost of the F-35 program to the U.S. government, all the branches of the U.S. military total cost, $400 billion. That sounds like an unfathomable amount of money, doesn't it? So your aircraft carriers, $13 billion each just for the boat. Your F-35s are a few hundred million each, $400 billion for the whole project. Look at that, amazing. Is that the F-35? Yeah, that's the F-35. Sorry, I'm not as familiar with it, although I saw it fly. Look at that thing. Is that going to go straight up? I think that's going to go straight up. I think it's going straight up, everybody. How do you even do that? That's going up. That's going up. That is going up. That's a lot of power. That is a lot of power. Anywho, pretty amazing aircraft. I saw it fly in the sky, and it was so maneuverable. You can see how it'd be so maneuverable if that thing can literally stay still. But my point is, so you got your U.S. military, and I don't remember what the annual U.S. defense budget is. But I know, because I checked, it's $13 billion per aircraft carrier. It's $400 billion for the whole F-35 fleet. Do you think that F-35 is ever going to shoot down a Chinese jet? You really think so? In a war? Do you think a U.S. aircraft carrier is going to fight a Chinese aircraft carrier? No, it could be. But here's my point. The most important strategic defense initiative the U.S. can invest in is not a $13 billion aircraft carrier, or even the entire $400 billion F-35 program. It's bringing strategic industries back from China. IT, internet technology, information technology, that's what IT is, information technology. That covers everything from the internet to cell phones to computers. Pharma. Did you know that 90% plus of our meds are made in China? Heavy industry. And here's my thesis. One factory is more important than one fighter jet. Bring it all back. And I was replying to that NTD News. Do you want to click on that tweet there? This has never happened before. Chinese factories are ramping up production as the country struggles to get back on its feet from the pandemic-induced recession, but analyses of recent data from the country suggest a quick rebound is nowhere in sight. Now, I don't know what that factory is. That looks like threads, I think. That looks like some sort of a garment. But whatever that is, that's quite a factory. Like, there's hundreds of those spindles. I don't even know what those are, but yep, that's a factory. Now, they're making the case here that the Chinese recovery is not as fast as expected. But look at that factory. I don't even know what that is. Let's assume that's making clothes. Let's assume that's a t-shirt factory. That would be my guess if I had to pretend I knew what that was. Woodworking machines at a Chinese furniture factory. Never stopped. Okay, look how dumb I am. Apparently those are woodworking machines. What do I know? Yeah, scroll down a bit. Woodworking. No, that says an employee working at a textile factory in China's northern Hebei province. So textile, that's a fancy way of saying fabric. Yeah, that looks like fabric to me. Woodworking, scroll down. Maybe there's some woodworking stuff there too. That looks like masks. That's just a port. And okay, looks like the story's done. So I don't know what that factory is. I think it's textiles. I think that makes t-shirts. Would you rather have one F-35 or bring one t-shirt company back to America? T-shirts, what's that got to do with anything? Well, it's jobs, it's money, it's industry. T-shirts are not that important. How about one medicine manufacturer? Diabetes medicine, penicillin medicine, pain relief medicine, aspirin, Advil, Tylenol, whatever. How about more dramatic medicines necessary to treat cancer? Luckily my life has not been one where I have a lot of experience with medicine, but you probably know various medicines, and I bet you if you Googled it, your medicine is made in China. 90% plus of the world's medicine, America's medicine is made in China. India is where some of it's made also. Would you rather have a new nuclear-powered Gerald Ford class aircraft carrier battle group, wow, or the pharmaceutical industry come back to America? It's not even in doubt. Bring the pharmaceutical industry back. Would you rather have the USS Ronald Reagan, mighty aircraft carrier, or for Apple Computers to bring its computers, iPhones, iPads, iWatches back to America? Not even close. Of course, bring the computer industry back. Would you rather have, I don't know how many U.S. carrier battle groups there are. I have to check, I don't know that offhand. I would, it's not for me to do, and this is a hypothetical fantasy situation, but I believe that the war against China is not a hot war, and we in the West, NATO, America is really the only power with aircraft carriers. France has one, I think France has one aircraft carrier, the UK has two, but really the aircraft carrier business is an American business. I think Russia has one, China now has two. And that projects American force around the world. Aircraft carrier rolls up, that's a whole lot of pain for anything. That's a floating airbase. But this war against China is not a hot war. If you had a new aircraft carrier, but China bought up important mining companies in your country, which is strategically more important for China? The U.S. is being tipped into recession now, surely, by this China virus. So prices are cheap. China's sitting on $2-3 trillion worth of U.S. Currency and foreign reserves. It could come in, buy up half of Manhattan, half of L.A. It could buy a Hollywood movie studio. The movie studios are going to be hit hard. No one's going to a theater now, and probably not for the foreseeable future. Newspapers. I'm surprised China hasn't outright bought up every newspaper that's closing in America. You can basically take them for free. You know, today can you type in post-media market cap? That's a short form for market capitalization. That's another way of saying how much is a company worth if you bought all the shares. So let's say there's 1 million shares of a company and they're trading at $50 each. So the company, their stock market capitalization is $50 million. So show me the chart. So do Google, so now scroll down a bit and click the second link. It says Y chart, scroll down. Yeah, that one there, click it. Okay, so what's the number there? So $126 million. You see it says Post-Media Network Canada market cap. That's short for market capitalization. You could buy. Now, obviously, if you started making this many purchases, you would drive the price up. But if every day you bought $500,000 worth of Post-Media shares, and I forget what the share price is, it's got to be low. Can you click back? Tell me, what's the price there? The very top left corner, I can't see. It's cut off in my TV. Is it $1.35? So it's basically cheaper than a newspaper. A share of the company is cheaper than a newspaper. So if every day you bought, I don't know, $500,000 worth of shares, you could control this company for $64 million. You see that? Because the market cap is $126.55 million, right? You could literally buy 51% of the company for like less than $70 million. Now, I should say, obviously, this company has other means of raising money, including bonds. So this company has lots of loans that have special priority and security to it. So it's not quite as simple as buying up half the shares, but this is indicative of the entire industry. Post Media shut down, was it 15 newspapers they shut down? Let's see if you can find that headline. Type Post Media 15. I think 15 newspapers were closed by Post Media just last week. So they just shut them down, turned off the lights, walked away. In fact, you could get those. You don't have to pay $70 million to get those. You could go to Post Media and say, hey, I hear you're closing 15 newspapers. That means you've got to pay termination pay to the people who work there. You've got to get out of your lease somehow, pay some sort of amount. So shutting down 15 newspapers is not like walking away. Yeah, Post Media is shutting down Manitoba newspapers amid COVID-19. Post Media says it will lay off about 80 employees and permanently close 15 community newspapers, including several in Manitoba, yada, yada, yada. So what's the cost? You lay off 80 employees, some of whom have been around for a while. You're paying out, that's got to be $1 million at least. Getting out of what leases for both real estate and equipment. So it's not like you got this old junker of a car and you just drop it off at the junkyard. You still got to pay millions of dollars to shut those down. You're telling me that if the Chinese Communist Party, or more likely some Chinese billionaire connected to the Communist Party, comes along and says, hey, Post Media, here's $1. We'll buy these 15 newspapers off your hands. We'll keep them alive, and we'll liberate you from the termination costs, cancellation costs, shutdown costs. We're literally saving you millions of dollars. You don't think Post Media would say, yes, thank you very little. In fact, thank you very much. Can we show you 10 other media properties we're going to shut down next month? Don't you think that is a great danger? That is an asymmetrical war that we're in. We're in an asymmetrical battle with China. It's not going to be the Liaoning aircraft carrier battle group versus the Theodore Roosevelt aircraft carrier battle group. It's not going to be that way. It's not going to be your F-35 versus your, what do they call it, the J-11? I don't know what their jets are called in China. They're all stolen blueprints. It ain't going to be that way. It's going to be a diplomatic battle. And today, China had an enormous victory in the diplomatic battle because the China-dominated World Health Organization managed to pull away a NATO member named Justin Trudeau and get him to give close to $1 billion Canadian to a China-backed World Health Organization. That's a victory in the Cold War. I would rather have an industry come home from China than have another carrier battle group. Maybe you need both. But don't think that this battle is being fought by missiles right now. It hasn't. It's being fought politically, economically. Why was the NBA so pro-China during the Hong Kong protest? Why is Hollywood such a suck-up to China? Because that's where the big dollars is for them. During the Cold War, imagine if Russia would have said, imagine if the Soviet Union would have said, hey, Hollywood, Rocky, was it Rocky 3 or something where he went up against some Russian? Remember that? I forget, did you watch the Rocky or are you too young for Rocky? In the 20th century, there was a guy named Sylvester Stallone who, Rocky 4, and he went up against, the actor was Dolph Lundgren, who just looked, both of them looked great. And it was a hell of a show. And it was America versus Russia. It was this great Cold War battle. Just give me a few seconds of it from the trailer. I don't want to demonetize this vid. But in the Cold War, in the Cold War, this great America versus the Soviet Union, rah-rah, go team, Hollywood made a wonderful movie with Sylvester Stallone, who's obviously a great patriot. and the Soviet boxer was played by Dolph Lundgren, who was just unbelievable. And Rocky, this scrappy, American versus the whole Olympic doping machine really on the Soviet side. And it was a wonderful morality tale. So here's Dolph Lundgren. See, that's Rocky. He had to work out old-fashioned style. And Dolph Lundgren, he had like a anyhow, so look at that. He was like a foot taller than him. And look at that. There's Rocky wearing this red, white, and blue. Boom! Rocky IV. Very exciting. Even other shows like The Hunt for Red October. Wolverines. What was that? Red Dawn. Krasny Razviet. Can you give me a few seconds of Red Dawn? In the 80s, there was this slightly dystopian fantasy movie of what would happen if the communists invaded America. And it was about this small town group of friends who created sort of a behind enemy lines. Yeah, so this is how it starts. Very powerful. So paratroopers come, the school says, what's going on? That's an American school. What's going on? Get in the pickup truck. So those are Russians attacking America, or those were Cubans, I think. And these are the American kids fleeing the high school, going out to the country kind of thing. American taken over by a communist invasion. In fact, I think it was actually Cubans. And was that Patrick Swayze? I can't remember. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. And so they created sort of a militia that hung out in the woods, Wolverines! And they had little attacks on the Soviets. Very exciting show. Visiting their dad, and oh my God. Yeah, very, very great movie. Great Cold War movie. Why am I telling you about these great Cold War movies where you had good versus evil? Because do you think those movies would be made if the Soviet Union had been a major movie market? Like if Hollywood movies would be shown in Moscow and Leningrad, as it was then known, and throughout the Soviet Empire, do you think Hollywood would have produced Wolverines, or the Red Dawn as it was called? Do you think they would have had the good versus evil Rocky IV? No. But movie after movie, give me Top Gun remake, Tom Cruise jacket China. Top Gun, Tom Cruise jacket China. Because his jacket in the first Top Gun, like 20 years ago, whenever it was, had a flag that was associated with the free China. But it's probably, and then search image or something. Just that little detail. The new version of Top Gun, which looks okay. Top Gun hasn't, yeah. So you see that? And is that the old one and the new one, or is that the? Oh, yes. It's different. So the one on the left is the original. Is that right, Justin? So so Justin found this. I think he got it right. I'm going from memory here. So the one on the left is pro-American, and I think that's a Taiwan flag on the bottom right. I'd have to double check. But you can see the patches in the second one. They took off the offending viz. You can see it's a different patch. They took off the viz that might offend communist China. Thanks very much for finding that so quickly. Why would they do that? Well, because they want 1.4 billion people in the Chinese market to have access to the movie. And if they don't bend the knee to Xi Jinping and remove anything that a Chinese Communist Party could object to, they're not going to be allowed to open that movie in China. And that could be worth $100 million to them. And you don't think that Hollywood is going to absolutely bend the knee to the Chinese Communist Party for $100 million? Absolutely. And my point is that because we didn't have that economic integration, with the Soviet Union, Hollywood made movies where the Soviets were the bad guys. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, Hollywood has always been sympathetic to communists and socialists and anti-Americans, but at least you have the odd hero, like obviously Sylvester Stallone, and I liked Red Dawn. Super Chats 3. William Hadrian, $5. Can Trudeau's gun ban be challenged by the Charter? Could be, and could be from other parts of the Constitution, including is it lawful to ban something just through executive order? I don't know, but there's an expert named Solomon Friedman. Let's try and get Solomon Friedman as a guest. He's a lawyer in Ottawa who's really an expert in gun law. I'd like to talk to him about it. Whiskey Jack, $10. Thanks very much, Whiskey Jack. Mike Nichols, 21. Wow, I appreciate that. Loved your history of quarantine last week. It was fascinating. Well, thank you. I went a little too deep into that. I just started reading, and I couldn't stop. Bill Howie, $5. I'm voting 1 Lewis, 2 Sloan, not others, because they refuse your invite, proving they're anti-free speech, free press. If O'Toole agrees, he'll be 1 and 2. Any word? We'll refresh our invitations to all of them. I think I asked fair enough questions, and Kean interviewed Derek Sloan, and I'm not going to pounce on these people. I'm just going to ask them real questions. I'm not beholden to any of them. I'm not a member of the Conservative Party. I generally support them because I think they're the party with the greatest likelihood of replacing Justin Trudeau. I think Andrew Scheer was a disaster. We sort of saw that coming. I think the number one quality you need to be a Conservative in Canada, like I said, number one, you should be Conservative. And number 2, you should have some courage. Because the moment you blink and bow your head down to the media party or pressure, they know they got you. And forever they know they can just do that. I think Peter MacKay especially, but to agree, Aaron O'Toole, have that weakness. They care what the CBC thinks, and I get it. All their friends watch the CBC. CBC dominates the official news coverage. But CBC's sensibilities are liberal, they're partisan, they're Toronto-centric, downtown Toronto, so they're not even suburbs of Toronto. So if you're taking your cues from Rosemary Barton, the political correspondent for the CBC, who literally was a plaintiff in a nuisance lawsuit against the Conservatives, you're doing it wrong. You're forgetting that your base is out there. It's not downtown Toronto. Ben B, $10. Hi, Ezra. I thank you for telling the truth. You were very pleasant to listen to. Well, I don't hear that very often. Thanks for that. Now, it's 12:49. I tried to make my case about economically unhooking from China. Do you agree with me that it's an asymmetric war? Trump knows it's a war. In fact, Trump says this. People say to Trump, I mean, we could probably find a clip. I'm not going to put you to it, Justin, because I can't think of any particular clip in my mind. But people would say to Trump, oh, you're starting a trade war. And Trump would say, no, brother. We've been in a trade war for 20 years. We're just finally fighting back. And wasn't that the truth? And I say the same thing about war in other symmetries, other asymmetries, other dimensions. Economic, political, diplomatic, globalist, mediatic, Hollywood even, cultural narratives, tourist, all these things. Foreign aid. China uses foreign aid, but in a very tricky way. I saw a huge, can you Google Maldives? Is it Maldives or Maldives? I don't know how you pronounce that. It's an island south of Asia, and China built a huge bridge. Can you Google that? China, Maldives, bridge. And here's an example of how China does foreign aid. They're not stupid like Trudeau, who just gave $850 million to the World Health Organization, much of which will go into Swiss bank accounts or just plain will be spent on, perks and high living and fancy expense accounts. Typical thing China will do is it'll go to a very, very, very poor country and say, what do you need? Do you need a port? Do you need a dam? Do you need a bridge? Do you need something? We'll build it for you, and we'll lend you the money for it. If you default, though, we'll own it. And of course these countries default, and so it winds up that all this key infrastructure in countries in the poorest places in the world are really just Chinese colonies. Can you find that bridge? Did I get it wrong? It's not loading, eh? Okay, well, we'll get that in a second, but I think it's one of the world's largest bridges in the Maldives, I don't know if you say that. And that's how China operates. So Canada is so stupid. We just give people money for like the worthlessness of a UN Security Council seat. China, yeah, look at that. If you can get another viz of that, like that bridge apparently is one, is that in the Maldives? Is that their capital of Malay or something? Okay, they won't load, maybe they're blocking us. Can you go to YouTube and type in China Maldives Bridge? I just want to show it in its enormosity. Enormity. I think it's actually one of the largest bridges of its type in the world. And little Maldives, there's no way it would finance that or pay for it, but China, China Maldives Friendship Bridge, open to traffic, connects Maldivian capital of Malay and the island of Hule. Look at that. 2.1 kilometer bridge, 4 vehicle lanes, 2 pedestrian lanes. How much do you think that cost? It's an iconic project of Maldives and China cooperation towards building the 21st century maritime Silk Road. Abdullah Yamin, Maldivian president. We see the, blah, 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 gateway. So this is basically China aid. So it's propaganda, but it also is, okay, so you're a colony now. You are ours. It's got Chinese language on it. It's basically China saying, we're your boss now, call us daddy. And that's from a Chinese propaganda CGTN. So that's how China rolls. China's not stupid. They're not saying, oh, here's $850 million. Send us some receipts later. Thanks very much. We appreciate the tweet. China says, no. We're your daddy now. And poor countries say, sure, we'll take the money. And they become little puppets. It's 12:53. I promised to show you a tattoo artist. Let's take a look at a tattoo artist being arrested and taken to jail. Luckily, there's lots of room in jail because they let the murderers and robbers out because of the virus. Where was that? Do you remember where that was? That's in the States some. I think it's in Texas. So you can go to a liquor store, no problem. You can buy your medicinal cannabis, no problem. But God forbid you open up a store and do a tattoo, off to jail for you. I don't get it. I want to show you the mayor of Chicago. Just listen to her. And you tell me if she wouldn't fit right into an authoritarian regime, be it the Soviet Union or China or Iran or even in Red Dawn. She would do great as the appointed governor of her region, appointed by the communist invaders. Take a listen to this woman.
Now, I've directed Superintendent Brown to order all police districts to give special attention to these parties. And this is how it's going to be. We will shut you down, we will cite you, and if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail. Period. There should be nothing unambiguous about that. Don't make us treat you like a criminal. But if you act like a criminal and you violate the law and you refuse to do what is necessary to save lives in the city in the middle of a pandemic, we will take you to jail, period.
Yeah, no, sorry, having people over to your house is not acting like a criminal. You just said it was. At most, it's a health violation, but I don't even believe that. I don't believe that young people getting together in a house is a health problem. I just don't think it is. I think we've all learned enough over the last month or two to realize that the virus, while a problem, is not a young person's problem. And I think, can you find Viz, type in that mayor's name, I just forgot her name off the top of my head, and hairdresser. Because we just saw some police take a tattoo man to prison. Luckily, lots of room there because the criminals were let out. But that mayor, apparently, that brush cut she has takes a lot of work to get looking just so good. So she went out during the lockdown to her hairdresser. Now, I thought hairdressers would go, I mean, I'm not looking that bad today. Sort of tamped it all down. I haven't had a haircut in 2 months, and it shows. So look at this. Will you look at this? Mayor Lightfoot, that's her name, gets a haircut amidst social distancing. So I think there she is posing with her hairdresser or something. Thanks. Yeah, it was a. Thanks for that works. So if you have friends over to your house, you're a criminal. I'm sorry, that's no crime known to man. That's not a crime. But she can go out and get her hair did because she got to look that good. No. I follow Tariq Nasheed, who's a bit of a radical, but I like it. And he said, why are you picking, people pick on different ethnic groups. Bill de Blasio was picking on the Jews in a really, can you find the de Blasio Jews tweet? Oh my God, was that weird. Bill de Blasio, who also ran out to the gym and went out here and went out there, he did a tweet the other day saying, hey, you Jews, stay home or I'll send the cops to you. What? You know, there's 8.6 million New Yorkers, about 1 million of them are Jews. And Jews are not like a Borg. They're not like ants in an ant colony. They you know, they're not, in fact, there's a joke, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. There's a joke. A Jew's on a you know, desert island. Someone comes to pick him up and says, oh, what's that? Well, that's my synagogue. Well, what's that synagogue? Oh, that's the one I never go to. It's a joke. Jews are by nature disagreeers. So the idea that every Jew is like in lockstep, every Jews are on the left, Jews are on the right, Jews are Orthodox, Jews are secular, Jews are criminal, Jews are cops, Jews are everything. So for the mayor of a very Jewish city, look at this. My message to the Jewish community and all communities is this: the time for warnings has passed. I've instructed the NYPD to proceed immediately to summons or even arrest those who gather in large groups. This is about stopping. My message to the Jews: I'm going to send some cops by to arrest you. The Jews, hey, can you go to Rita Panahy's Twitter feed? So Bill de Blasio had that weird tweet targeting the Jews. And I think he meant the Orthodox Jews who live perhaps in larger households or something. Rita Panahy had a photo from New York. Gorgeous weather this weekend. Lots of people out sunbathing, getting some suntans. You know who I'm talking about, Rita Panahy? Just a photo. Yeah, look at that. So she retweeted this. Christopher Street Pier, 4:48 p.m. Not sure if the message is getting through. Zoom in on that. Look at that. That's. I don't know if that's a real grass or if that's fake grass, but it looks like a wonderful day. It's not really at the beach. It's on a pier. Can you zoom in on the photo itself? Look at those folks. It's almost like sort of show-offy at Venice Beach, California, where you had guys working out and gals on rollerblades and everybody looking at the other handsome and pretty young people. But look at that one guy there posing in his Speedos or something. Actually, there's more than one Speedos. That guy front and center, then the sunglasses. And then, yeah, look at those Speedos. Those guys are strutting around. You know, if you're young and going out to have fun in the sun, I don't see any Orthodox Jews here. You know what I'm talking about? The Jews with the big fur hats and the curly sideburns. And of course, this being Manhattan, and these being young people, I'd say there's about a 90+% chance these are Democrats. Like that's what Manhattan is. I'm sorry, it's not a Republican hotspot. So this is not a church in the Midwest. This is not the Orthodox Jews that Bill de Blasio is naming and shaming. You Jews! I'm going to send the cops out after you. These are young, handsome and pretty New York Democrats out in, I can't tell if that's real grass or AstroTurf. Either way, that looks like a nice day. Justin says he thinks it looks real. Probably right. And what are you going to do? You're going to tell them, I went out this weekend in Toronto. It was 19 degrees Celsius. It's about, what's that, about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The park was packed. I was so glad to see it. People just don't believe it anymore. One of the things Tariq Nasheed says was, he pointed out how that mayor of Chicago, who's a black woman herself, seemed to be focused on black men getting together in a house party or playing basketball. Look at this. Is there any reason for the mayor to come and shame these basketball players? Take a look.
Move on. Let's go now. Let's go. You want to take this virus back to your house and get your mama sick? Let's move on.
So we can handle fun before this.
Hey, all that over 20, y'all that need to find a screw. You talking about go home, you go home. I'm a ball here.
I couldn't quite tell if that was a basketball court or just like a yard or a parking lot. Did you see basketball hoops there? Like just a concrete park. So the mayor was saying, you go home, you want to bring the virus home. Do you think the virus was lurking there? Now, a couple of those young men looked like they had masks. They weren't on their face right then. So the mayor and her posse, her crew, can wander around without social distancing, but those young black men can't hang around there. Why can the mayor go out and about but not those young men? And do you really think those young men are in the risk category? Probably late teenagers, early 20s, young guys. I don't know what they were doing. I didn't see the basketball hoops, which at first I thought that was. But what are they doing wrong again? So you think that once the mayor's gone, if they do leave there, you don't think they're going to go play or hang out somewhere else that's probably not as good? That's the thing. So you shut down all the playgrounds. And in Toronto, they've taped up a lot of the playgrounds. You think kids are going to say, oh, okay, I don't need to run around, I don't need to play. They're going to play just somewhere that's less safe, on the street, in someone else's property, someplace that's not built for playing. These are the stupidest rules by the stupidest politicians. Oh my God, it's 1:04, we didn't do the dog video yet. Okay, let me quickly read our super chats. Bruce Glivar, $20. Thank you very much, Bruce, appreciate that. Pat Drake, $5. We need Keean Bexley in front of our cowardly pot-smoking leader, I use that term loosely, to ask real questions, unlike the bought and paid for scrum. I agree. All right, sorry, I went on too long and I was sort of rambling there, but it frustrates me when Mayor Hairdresser tells some kids to scram, and when Mayor Go to the Gym tells Jews that he's going to send cops out for them, but his liberal, millennial Democrat voters can hang out. And by the way, good for them. You think any of them are going to get sick? I can tell you, having studied the statistics from New York City, no one under age 30 has died who didn't have some underlying comorbidity, as they say. If you're healthy young people, and they all look healthy to me, you ain't going to die from the virus. It's just, we've learned that in the last 2 months. Okay, it's 1:05. I've gone on a little bit long. I did manage to get through most of the vids. We are going to end today's show with our new tradition, and I'll come back and say goodbye. A dog video, courtesy of Justin. That little puppy at the end was the best part. I didn't know dogs like cauliflower. Now I know how to get rid of cauliflower when I don't want it. Justin, good pick. My friends, it's 1:06. I've got a show for you tonight at 8 p.m. about press freedom and Justin Trudeau. Judging by some of the super chats, I think some of you will like it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go to rebelnews.com and become a subscriber to Rebel News Plus. It's $8 a month. You get my nightly produced show as well as produced shows by Sheila Gunn Reid and David Menzies. Thousands of people do. They seem to like it. I hope you will. It's $8 a month. It's not a big deal. You get 7 days free trial. You can get a whole year for $80, which is a discount, as you can see. And if you want to join our Producers Club, wow, you get all sorts of little secret goodies. That's $250 a year, so you got to be a heavy hitter. All right. Well, that's it for now. Until tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, on behalf of all of us at Rebel World Headquarters, to you at home, good night, and keep fighting for freedom.